thousands of wines. Guides in the know and price is so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Portions of our programming have been pre-recorded. The Good Neighbor Network, WGNS, Murfreesboro, Smyrna. Flagship station for MTSU Sports. We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with Rick and Wayne. We come to you every Tuesday morning here at WGNS in Murfreesboro. But good morning, Wayne. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Brother Rick. I'm doing well. It's not quite as hot, and I didn't have to use a canoe to get here. So,
well, it's coming.
Yeah. Brian's standing here, so we're 20-plus inches above normal presently.
You took his microphone. He can't talk to
well,
you.
that's true. Yeah.
He's nodding his head.
Yeah, he'll just have to do sign language, I guess.
Yes.
So,
But there's other areas, I think they're approaching 30. I know where I was camping in Waynesboro, it was they were touching on 30. And by the time what happened the other day.
Do we have any drought areas left? I mean, not in Tennessee?
Well.
Because that was big last fall.
It is. Well, it's not meeting what some are looking at saying that world's coming to an end. Here we are.
Well, there you go.
The other way.
Yeah. Pretty excited about this week, Brother Rick, with 4th of July coming up, and the town's firework is that Thursday?
Thursday, July 3rd. Gates get there early. Gates open, and it'll fill up. And,
yeah, it's always just an amazing presentation. They do such a good job.
They're able to get more people in there now with the way they did the Coos Memorial and everything, and they've changed the way the buffer zones are as far as where you're allowed to sit. So there's much more. They'll have several food trucks there and plenty of things to eat and drink, and of course the playgrounds will be open and ready for all the kids. So it's a good time.
So this is 249th. Celebration. Of course, we just saw the 250th birthday of the Army, which one of our guests probably celebrated with them. And I can recall the 200th celebration. You and one of our other guests, y'all were just little snot noses back in the day. So
somewhere it says dartboard on me. I don't know where it is, but
here's my back.
It's red, I guess.
So, but ought to be an exciting week. Brother Rick, we've got two great friends with us this morning. Wayne Bain, longtime, forever Rutherford County resident, Vietnam veteran, just would like to celebrate your service, and God bless you, and looking forward to hearing about growing up here in Rutherford County and going through that military process. And then, of course, we also have Kevin Fair, who owns Armada Senior Care, who is going to talk about veterans benefits. Because in the day, of course, I did not serve and regret having not gone that direction, but God bless you for your service, Wayne.
Thank you, sir.
Talk a little bit about growing up here in Rutherford County. I think you grew up in Murfreesboro, but you've lived in Smyrna for a long time as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you was talking to Rick about the rain and all that, because I recall having gone to school at McFadden in the Westview area for all 8 years. Quite often, that's before Percy Priest came in the lake, and it come a little spring shower, and people get their boats out to get out of their house. So Murfreesboro used to become a low area around here.
That's right.
And, people,
And what area was that, Wayne? Where were you talking about?
off going towards, I think it's what they call the Salem Highway.
Oh, yeah.
Out there,
Okay.
the bridge
Yeah.
that goes across there, back behind where the police department is down. All that area would just flood out in no time at all.
No kidding.
I used to frequent that little river down there called the Belly Hole. And,
Well, maybe that, and of course they're daylighting the creek along
Broad Street.
Broad Street right now. So I presume that was well before that, and I wonder, did they do the culverts and cover it up to control flooding in that area? Would you know, Rick?
Well, I think where he's talking be a total different area drainage wise, but
Okay.
he's right. That Salem area over there, it's the old hospital, headed towards that old hospital. That's kind of a big low area that's over that
Okay.
way where the ball fields are.
Okay.
Oakland's mansions on the high side of it.
Okay.
But,
Guess I lost track where McFadden Magnet School is now. Then I thought it was over off a bridge or something.
it is.
Okay.
But he's talking. He lived over that way, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So, so again, I think you said you graduated from Central back in the day.
Didn't graduate, but I went to Central.
Okay. Well, a lot of our community leaders have certainly come out of Central, and then of course, back in '72 they split it into Oakland and Riverdale. So, talk a little bit about growing up here in Rutherford County, if you want to, and then how you wound up. I believe you told Rick and I that you were drafted and got to go to Vietnam.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I did grow up here in my first home that I can remember was right down by the train depot. I recall several big, huge pecan trees that we used to get pecans off of there, and we lived there for a while, and then moved up to a place called Ordway Street. There's on a place called Happy Hill. Some people may know that. And then from there, we moved to the housing projects off Franklin Road, and I thought my parents got rich. That was our first indoor toilet, and we just had a playground out back and all that, and that's what I was talking about from the floods and so on. Well, anyhow, the work that we had back in those days, let's see, on Fridays, as I recall, the teachers at McFadden would turn their heads on certain kids because they'd hit the railroad tracks and go to the stockyards and help the farmers get their cows in for tips, and that's pretty much the way we had to make money back in those days. And I met some people from Smyrna, didn't know it at the time, but they were some of my good customers, Mr. Epps and Mr. Gwynn, Mr. Potts, Mr. Owens. I remember all those guys.
Yes, sir.
Because they were pretty good tippers. They'd give you anywhere from 25 to 50 cents, which was really good back in those days. So, well, anyhow, I finally got a job at a place called Regal Cream right down here off of Broad Street, back as a car hop. And I met my wife there. And I was just smitten by that lady. Still am today. So I knew that we could not get married unless I had a better job and a secure job. So I decided to go into the military, and I volunteered for the military at that time and got drafted while I was in basic training at Fort Campbell so that I could get her parents to sign for us. Got drafted.
You got drafted.
Right.
How does that work?
Well, same way I guess. Same way I guess it works today. Sometimes paperwork has to be.
So are you considered, so after you made it through basic training, were you considered a volunteer or were you considered a draftee? I mean, did it matter?
It didn't matter at that
Didn't
time. I was
matter.
in.
You were in, huh?
I went from there to Fort Polk, Louisiana in July and August. Really, really hot down there. And then came back, and my wife and I got married. And then about 6 months later, I went to Vietnam.
So when you arrived at Vietnam, kind of talk about that experience a little bit, if you would.
I didn't know. I had no clue what was going on at the time. I was just a little past 18 years old, and they put me in I was at what they call a base camp, I guess, for 3 or 4 days, and then they put me in a helicopter, and I flew across these jungle for seemed like hours, and I kept looking down there thinking, my Lord, where in the world? Even if I wanted to get out of here, I couldn't. So, and then we sat down in a fire base.
So that brings me back, though. So it's not like today. You know, I graduated in 1989. Of course, when we invaded Iraq in 1990, so a year after I graduated, and I remember all that, and they'll talk about a draft and the whole 9 yards. So you basically had a morning and afternoon newspaper, and if you were buying a newspaper, you would have a somewhat of a notion of what's going on in the country and the world. But what were they telling you guys? Because like that, you had enlisted and then got drafted, but what were you telling through basic and things? Were they discussing with y'all or telling y'all what was coming, or what was it like then?
No, they were getting us ready, getting us physically and mentally ready to be a soldier, and I think they still do that today. Which is probably good. That's where you're.
So you're not hearing much about, hey, there's a conflict over in Vietnam, and good chance you might be headed over
I
there.
think everybody knew that before I went. I could see the body bags coming home from
really?
TV. It's probably the first time they showed those things. And
right.
A lot of protests going on back in those days. But
I've been listening to the 60s through Pandora, and a lot of the Vietnam songs, the Stones had a number of Vietnam era. The one I guess I remember the most is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Ohio. And it talks about 4 dead in Ohio. And, I remember, of course, I was, you enlisted what year?
69.
69. So I would have been 16. So I remember the political turmoil on TV with the so-called hippie movement and with all of the controversy with the war, and it was a tough time to be in the military. If you wore your uniform in the wrong place, I suspect you were not treated very well.
No, for about a year or so, I didn't even tell people I was in the service or ever was a part of the service, just for that. But I don't hold any animosity or put no blame towards the way things happened back in those days. That's just the way things happen.
That was the political climate at the time.
Right.
So, I think even today, the military military personnel are encouraged not to wear their uniform, like if they're traveling or something like that, just not to put themselves in potentially harm's way. But that was especially the case back in the Vietnam era, I believe.
I think you'll always find bad people if you look for them, and you'll always find good people if you look for them. I choose to look for the good in people, and I try to ignore the bad.
So how good a shot are you?
Today, not very good. I have to retrain myself. I have macular degeneration in my right eye, so I can't see.
Okay.
So everything I do now has to be left-handed, and I'm not a left-handed person, so I just put my guns up. I don't shoot no more. So
that we were talking before the show. Of course, war is horrible, but I don't know. Thinking about wading through rice paddies and jungle terrain. Of course, I know there were booby traps and things like that, but I'm not sure that I'm not more intimidated by some of the wildlife that was involved. Some of the venomous snakes and stuff like that. So, were you more worried about the Viet Cong or things like snakes and stuff like that out of mind?
all of that. I have a picture of a softball with a big old black scorpion wrapped all the way around it. That's how big it was. A friend of mine woke up one morning and his head was the size of a basketball, where a big centipede had got up on him and bit him in the head.
Oh, goodness.
Just swelled up. So there's a lot of I had a bad experience with ants. Sat down one day and all of a sudden my whole body was on fire and I was full of ants. So yeah, it can be mean.
So how tough were you coming out of basic compared to when you went into basic?
Oh yeah, pretty tough. Yeah, they'll make you. They'll show you what you're made of, or at least back in those days, anyhow.
So talk about basic a little bit. Of course, you volunteered, so I guess you reported rather than. From what I recall, if you were drafted, they came and got you.
Yes, It was two lines when I volunteered. One of them was Marines and one of them was the Army. I went to the Army because it was a shorter line. It was just that simple. That's how I went in the Army instead of the Marines. Basic, it's difficult. I mean, if you're not used to a lot of discipline, they're going to teach you discipline and what honor is all about and things like that. They just drill it into you. So if you if you can control the environment of it's not very hard to program people, by the way. I know that because I was an instructor at the 8th Infantry Division NCO Academy, and I had 11 people each cycle for a little squad, and it takes about 3 weeks to break them, about another week to unify them, and about another week to have them do whatever you want them to do. Whatever you want them to do, but you have to control their eating habits, their sleeping habits, and what they do and all their activities. So, and pretty much Basic does that to a degree. They control when you go to bed, when you don't go to bed, when you eat, when you don't eat, and what you do all day and all that. So, and that's really bad for a couple of weeks. And after that, you start coalescing as a group, and then the very drill sergeant that you hated all of a sudden becomes somebody that you really respect and admire. So strange how you can program people. I think a lot of that's being done today, and the reason why is because the communications is so rapid that you can go back in those days, as Rick was saying, our news came from newspapers and from family members that we talked to and from a telephone you actually dialed to get across. But now if let's say Iran bombs somebody, we're going to know it 5 seconds from now or the minute it happens. Yep. And so people, they like to be with groups that think the same way they do and to validate those thoughts, as opposed to looking at it and giving some critical thought to what takes place and what brought that activity on, whatever it is, if that makes sense. So
did you just spend how long in the military?
I spent when I got out of Vietnam, this is kind of strange, I hate to say this, in about 2 weeks' time they took my license to kill, they took my gun, they gave me a steak dinner and told me to go home and be a kid again. Be a kid, yes, I wasn't 21. I was still just 20 years old, and at that time, I couldn't vote. I had to get my mother to co-sign for me to buy a Frigidaire on credit. Wow. And now, take that and put with all the people with flowers on their faces, painted on their faces, and running around hollering peace, and I didn't know nothing about peace at that time. And it was a difficult time for me. I wound up going to Detroit, and that place was way too big for me, and then moved to Alabama, and then back up to Ohio, and then back down to Tennessee, and I thought, wow. And they came out with all voluntary force, and I thought, wow, they pay a little bit more. So I told Vicki, I said, we got to go back in the service. I don't know what I want to do in this life, and I'm going to wind up killing somebody if I don't do something. So I went back in the service with like-minded people until I could get a skill that I could use out here. And
so how long were you in the military?
10 years total.
Oh, wow, okay. So you just didn't want to do the 20 and have the guaranteed check?
There's a lot of things more important to me than money, sir. I wanted to get a skill and to get out. I've come to find out that for most of the people that I've met in the world and here and everywhere else, they want the same thing that I want. They want to be able to work, feed their family, have a good time. I don't think they start the wars. Somewhere along the line, whoever the decision makers are the ones that start that, and so their issues oftentimes are not my issues. So I understand protest as they come about.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I understand the obligation. So if you put the uniform on, you should be willing to do that obligation. At this point in time, maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm not willing to go overseas and fight another war. You can wrap it in the flag or wrap it in God or whatever you want, but it boils down to a rich man's assets. I can't do that, and I would not dishonor the uniform by continuing to keep it on. Hence, I got out. So,
Well, you served your time. You served your country.
and I love my country.
Yes, sir.
With the skill, so the next 10 years you basically did, or 8 years, I think you were probably into, then did 8 more. So when you came out of that, what did you get into, line of work wise, or?
Well, I was saying I was an instructor at the 8th Infantry Division NCO Academy. So when it come, that was in Baumholder, Germany. When it come time for me to deroast and come back to the States, my commandant called me and asked me where I wanted to go. And I said, what? He said, well, we take care of our own. So just tell me where you want to go and I'll make it happen. I said, well, commandant, I don't really care. As long as it's on the other side of that big old pond out there, just wherever the military needs me. So he sent me back to my unit that I served with in Vietnam, because he knew at that time that they were testing a new technical thing for artillery at that time, a thing called TAC fire. So you could do away with the people that go out and actually call in the fire missions and stuff. You just point a little device at it and it automatically. A lot of the stuff that's going over the airs today, we was a part of that. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, as a result, I got to go to school in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. 3 of them. All of them. It was about 11 months and then another 8 months, and just where I eat, sleep, and dreamed about digital logic, and didn't know much about it then, but so. At the time, it wasn't that much out here, and then when I got out, those skills worked very well for me, because I went to work. I went to over at the Tennessee Technology Center.
T-Tech. Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want to show on my resume a time where I wasn't working. At least I was busy. And at that time, the instructor asked me what I was doing there, and I said, I'm going to school. He said, no, you ought to be teaching the school, because I was helping those guys out with some digital stuff over there that at that time was kind of they wasn't aware of. So anyhow, he asked me if I'd be willing to go to work with the state and go out to Nissan and go to work out there, and I did. So I went out there and started working with them, and then they needed somebody to put together a robotics training program, but nobody knew anything about it. And then they said something about servo mechanisms, and I thought, yeah, I can help you there. So that's how all that happened. I started working there and put together their robotics training program and worked at Nissan for about 10 years.
Okay. I did not know that. This is
cool.
This is cool. I'm finding out things about you I didn't know, brother.
Yeah. I also worked as a safety engineer out there for about 5 years. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. With all the things going on with with the talk and the merger, and then the merger collapsed. I guess we were all a little bit nervous, but apparently Nissan, they've added a new vehicle to their manufacturing line, and so that ought to give them some stability for a while. At least I hope so. These guys were pretty young when Nissan came in too. So.
I was old enough. I used to hunt the property it sits on. I know that. We used to have some really good bird hunting on that, but of course we don't have those birds around anymore.
Do you recall? And I don't want to go back too far, but I can remember riding through some of the old roads that are now covered by Percy Priest. Mm-hmm. Before they started filling up, I can remember these huge piles of timber that they were burning, and I thought, well, would they burn completely up before the lake started engulfing them? And apparently the answer to that was no, because a lot of people damaged a lot of boats in that lake, and
still do today.
And true. No. It's kind of shallow in places. So, do you recall much of that area? Did you?
Absolutely. We at the time it was really fun because where the roads went into the water was real nice. It's smooth bottom, about belly deep, so it was a good place to go out and make a little fire, roast some marshmallows, and bark at the moon.
I don't think I've heard that term in quite a while.
That is an album. Yeah. We're not too young to know that, are we? Kevin, let me bring you in on this. So,
yes, sir.
Kevin Furr, you're with Armada Senior Care, and you're big with veterans benefits and things like that, and you're kind of here to basically shed some light on benefits available to some of the veterans out there and some programs that y'all have, right?
Yeah. First off, thank you, Wayne and Rick, and also Wayne on behalf of all civilians, non-military folks such as myself. Thank you for what you have done.
Appreciate you, sir.
One of the quick funny story before we get into it. Growing up in high school, I excelled in athletics and academics, and I was told that you need to go to an elite institution like West Point or the Naval Academy. And so I got it into my head, like, I want to go to the Naval Academy, right? Unfortunately, when I was 4, I was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. Mm-hmm. And so I just said, well, they'll let me in. And I started talking to literally recruiters and whatnot. And they're like, bro, you're not going to get in. I wrote a handwritten letter to my state senator asking for permission, and the gentleman wrote me back saying, hey, I'm sorry, if you're deployed and you can't get your insulin, you're going to die. We can't do that. So my dream of serving was diminished. But, we had a family of folks who have served. So when my wife Kelly and I started Amada Senior Care 10 years ago here in Middle Tennessee, we had an objective to say, what can we do as civilians? We provide, just for context, Amada provides in-home care for adults, seniors, or adults with disabilities if they need help with activities in the home, or if they have a cognitive impairment, right? Our caregivers come in and help out. Well, the VA hospitals will actually give these services to veterans, folks who have served, and you need an honorable discharge and you need a valid DD-214, and that's the prerequisite. Okay, so it's not a lot of prereq, but yet a lot of veterans just don't know this, right? They don't know that, they don't understand that. So as they age, their quality of life is compromised due to physical ailment or maybe cognitive ailment. They can go to their VA hospital. They can go to Alvin C. York right here, or they can go up to Nashville and see a provider and say, I seek this home care, and they're entitled to get that. And it's pretty cool.
That is amazing. I know that you've got a pamphlet there, and it's got some benefits related to that, but we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll come back, and I kind of want you to get in those deep dive and kind of explain it a little bit. Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right, you're listening to the Rick and Wayne Show here at the Tuesday morning Roundtable. We'll be right back with you in just a minute.
When the weather turns bad, minutes, even seconds matter.
This is an early heads up for southern Rutherford County.
Rutherford Weather brings you live radar and expert meteorologist insight, giving you the early heads up when storms threaten.
A lot of areas are going to see some impacts from this storm.
From analysis to live camera views, we keep you informed before, during, and after the storm.
I think the vast majority of the hail with this now is going to be quarter to perhaps golf ball size.
Rutherford Weather. Stay ahead of the storm.
First Shot, growing in Christ with life and athletic skills.
So we teach God's Word at everything we do to implant it in them so that they understand that the only way to get through the world is with God on their side.
First Shot founder and executive director Andy Herzer.
Our focus is on our inner city here at Patterson Park.
From academics to athletics, First Shot's focus is toward building a stronger, more courageous spirit to face opportunities and obstacles that our youth confront every day. To find out more about First Shot, go to firstshottn.org.
This is Hannah Bleem here at the Rutherford County Farmers Market. This year, the Farmers Market is celebrating 50 years of being open, and we're here to talk to different vendors today.
I'm Elaine Weaver from Weaver Farms, and we're a family farm. We raise beef, pork, and lamb, row crops, and we'll have sweet corn later on. We have been coming to the Rutherford County Market for 12 years with the meat, but we were coming with sweet corn. But our meat business has really grown here in Rutherford County. We raise our own beef, pork, and lamb. We have no antibiotic, no hormones, no water added back in to provide a nutritious product for people in the community.
Thank you so much. The Rutherford County Farmers Market is open on Tuesdays and Fridays from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 315 John R. Rice Boulevard in Murfreesboro until October 31st.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by Old National Bank, the law offices of John Day, and AmeriCare Pest Control.
In today's changing world, you need a financial planner that you're comfortable with. Rely on the bonds that you've built with trusted friends at Old National Bank on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard here in the borough. And if you just moved here, visit us and enjoy warm, homemade cookies.
Honey, the cookies are ready.
Like Grandma used to make. Old National Bank. We're better together.
2230 Dr. MLK Jr. Boulevard. Old National Bank, member FDIC.
For over 78 years, WGNS has been keeping you informed. And since the area has grown, we try even harder to let you know what's happening. Thank you for being one of our good neighbors. Oh yes, Friday, July the 11th, is the next Friday Night Live on the Murfreesboro Square. It's the Sisters Wade Revival. You'll love the harmonies. The Sisters Wade Revival. Friday night, July the 11th, 6:30 to 9:30 on the Murfreesboro Square. It's all free. Hey, put this on your calendar. July 11th, 12th, and 13th, the Tennessee Youth Baseball Association presents the state tournament right here in town at the Barfield Park. And this is the state tournament for ages 3 to 15. For more information, get in touch with the Tennessee Youth Baseball Association. The Taste of Rutherford, an opportunity to enjoy the food from some of Murfreesboro's finest eateries. You don't want to miss it, and it helps to preserve our historic Murfreesboro district. Get with Main Street, Murfreesboro. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here this afternoon. Partial sunshine develops a high in the upper 80s. Then for tonight, partly cloudy skies develop low near 67. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 76.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Seriously looking at solar power generation? MTE offers a free consultation with an energy expert and has an entire library of educational resources. To learn more, visit mte.com/prosolar.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And welcome back to the second segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And it's certainly been Rick and my honor and pleasure to have veteran Wayne Bain and Kevin Fair, the owner of Amada Senior Care. We've talked quite a bit about Wayne's service and his tour in Vietnam. And I think the second part of the show, we were going to try to talk about veteran benefits, and both Kevin and Wayne will have quite a bit to say about that. Kevin, I think you started us out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I think when we look, there's a historical perspective that as it relates to veteran benefits, and I hear this all the time. I will consult with a family and I'll inquire if they're a veteran. They'll say yes, and I'll say, did you go to the VA to see if you can get benefits? And the response is, we won't qualify for benefits. And we won't qualify does not make sense. And here's where they're coming from. There's two buckets of benefits that I want folks to think about. One is pension-based, okay? That is a pension that the federal government will give, and that is called aid and attendance, okay? That you need to qualify for financially. So there is an algorithm that's put in place. What are your net assets? How much money do you have in the bank, et cetera, et cetera. If you meet the minimum thresholds for aid and attendance, you will qualify, and the federal government will essentially cut you a predetermined check, drop it into your account each month. Then you can use those monies to pay for Amada Senior Care. That's one avenue, but that is not the one that everyone can access. The other avenues are what are called homemaker services or respite services. Respite, R-E-S-P-I-T-E. Respite means I need a break, right? So if a veteran has a primary caregiver, whether it's a spouse or a child or whatnot, that veteran can get respite caregiving services through AMATA, through the VA, and they can have $500 million in the bank. I mean, they can have 10 houses. Regardless of what their financial situation is, they can qualify for these benefits. And my objective today is every veteran or every family member of a veteran who's listening, you guys need to understand, all you need to do, you can call our office and just make a couple inquiries. At AMATA, based here in Murfreesboro, every one of our staff is well versed on veteran benefits. A veteran can call our office, and if they can qualify, we're going to show them the steps, what they need to do to get this care, and they don't see a bill for it.
Wow.
None whatsoever.
Yeah. I certainly had no idea.
Yep.
Do any of the family members, like a spouse, qualify for it, or is it the veteran?
Great question, Rick. So with the pension-based allocations of aid and attendance, a surviving spouse can qualify. There's a couple stipulations. You have to be, number one, your spouse, your veteran needs to have passed. Number two, you cannot have remarried since his passing. And then it falls into the same bucket of the same financial parameters. And then the allocation for surviving spouses is less than what would be given to a veteran, but they can still receive monies each month. And, you know, at AMATA, we have folks on aid and attendance, right? We have veterans. We also have surviving spouses of veterans that are on service with us that get this money allocated to them. So this is a process, and that's why I encourage folks to call our office, because if you fall into the realm of getting aid and attendance, you can leverage both the financial gain of that pension and the benefits of homemaker services and respite care through the VA, which we have many clients doing. And that's just a process or a cocktail of things that need to happen, and that's where AMATA can help out families or veterans seeking that.
So is there a difference, say someone like Wayne here, who actually was in the conflict. He was on foreign soil, carried a rifle, in combat,
right,
compared to someone who stayed stateside that did office work. Is there a difference in the care and what they would receive?
There is not. It's a great question, Wayne. There is not, right? So we need what is called an honorable discharge. Okay, that's the rate limiting step. If you were dishonorably discharged for an occurrence that happened, you're not going to get these benefits, along with a lot of other veteran benefits. That's just the way it goes. The level of care is determined based off of the assessment that the VA healthcare practitioner assesses the veteran on, the degree of which their disability is compromising their quality of life. So Wayne is healthy, he's robust. I hope you never need our services, brother. But in the event down the road, if something happens and you do, you will get assessed. Your doctor will say, hey, you know, Wayne could benefit from 15 hours a week of an AMATA employee coming in and being your personal assistant to help you with bathing, dressing, toileting, getting in and out of your chair, doing housekeeping, cooking some meals for you, things like that, right? There could be another veteran that comes in that needs more care or needs less care, right? So it's all based off the healthcare provider's assessment of that veteran, but the veteran has to be involved with the VA hospitals. They cannot be a veteran and say, I got an honorable discharge, but they don't see they have to be in the VA health system. Okay, that's another rate limiting step. And I have veterans call our office every day and they say, hey, I'm not in the system. Call the hospital. You're entitled to get enrolled. Very simple, very simple. They can call Alvin C. York. You can Google it. You can say, I'm a veteran. I would like to enroll in healthcare benefits. And they have a process for you to do that. And from what I understand, it's very streamlined and it's very easy to do.
So I found out prior to the show something that I had no idea, that each veteran facility is autonomous to the other facilities. So say Wayne here has services at Alvin C. York. But due to family, he winds up staying with a family member in Nashville. So once he's in the system in Murfreesboro, does that automatically mean he's also in the system in Nashville as well?
Yes, so that's a great question as well. We have veterans that will cross-pollinate, moving from location to location. The take-home factor is this, and I know, Wayne, you mentioned how impressed you were with Alvin C. York. I will tell you, it is phenomenally run.
Absolutely, some of the best medical care I've ever had.
Yep. And you cannot make that claim for a VA hospital in Langdon, North Dakota, or somewhere else, right? Because they are independently owned and operated, right? They're all under the umbrella of the federal government, but they all have their C-suite, their chief executive officers, their management that makes their decisions. So, but if you move from a VA hospital in Arkansas up to here, your information is going to transfer, but now you fall into the realm of being treated here in Rutherford County. But yeah, your information will follow you.
I don't think anybody would know that they're separately owned and are autonomous. That was probably one of the most shocking things that I've heard. Not in a bad way, I guess, but it just something I just envisioned that the federal government owned and ran, and
all of them were the same, and all the processes.
Right.
No, it's.
I can give you a little bit of information on Alvin York and the Nashville area. When I was in Alabama, I was going to UAB with my brother-in-law, who was also a veteran, and as it turned out, I had an appendicitis attack, and so I wound up at the St. Thomas Hospital or some other hospital down there because they just came and got me. But when I got home about a week later, my PA, Miss Karen Liddy, I think she's retired now. She's a wonderful lady. But the VA called me from Alvin York and wanted to know what was going on and did I need more follow through and assistance and all that, and how they could help me. I've never had that happen before, never. Yeah. and I didn't tell them, but they got the records. I guess they sent the records to them or somehow along. But,
sure.
The fact that they called me, actually, I bet your doctor don't do that.
Well, actually, mine does.
Well, I was really impressed. I was really impressed with that. And Nashville worked with me for about 3 years to get a medication that would work on my skin disorder as a result of exposure to Agent Orange. Mm-hmm. So I was about 3 years working. Look, if I didn't have that medication, I'd just be one big, huge pimple. But anyhow, we worked on that for about 3 years, and then we worked for about another year to get the dosage about right. And so now I see them about every 6 months or so just to check my blood to make sure it's working. But the point is, you're not just a number anymore. Not in Nashville and not in Murfreesboro, or at least that's been my experience. I'm not treated like a number. I'm treated like a person who they really genuinely care about, and I'm really impressed with that.
We've had the honor, Amada, 10 years in Middle Tennessee. We've had the honor of caring for literally thousands of veterans over that time. When you have to deal with the emotional strains of end of life, right? Whether it's through cognitive impairment or whether it's through exposure to Agent Orange or whatever it may be, it doesn't get any easier no matter how long you've done it, right? But the point is, as we celebrate the 4th of July, as we celebrate our independence thanks to veterans, I want every veteran in Rutherford County to understand that you have options if your quality of life needs to be improved or you feel as though you could gain improvement by having an assistant. Please reach out to me. Give us a call. I can provide our phone number. I can provide our website. But and if you don't meet the qualifications or we can't help you, chances are Amada can point you in the right direction for you to get some help that can go beyond our scope.
With us coming up on the 4th of July celebration, it really turned into a feel-good show for me, having learning about Wayne's experience and serving our country, and you sharing all the positives that are coming out of the VA, specifically, our own Alvin C. York. I've always been a proponent of we have to take care of our children first, and maybe on the same level, at least, if not right behind, our veterans. And I can't say that we've always taken care of both of them the way we should have.
No, I agree more. And it was about 2 years ago we had a classmate of yours on. If you want to shout out class of
1972, Lieutenant Colonel Gary Richmond retired.
I got to give him his props on that one. But Gary volunteers out there, and Wayne, you might, because obviously Wayne and I didn't serve, we haven't been there, but I guess they volunteer out there, and they're wearing red shirts and khaki pants, and when you walk through the door, you'll usually see those guys roaming the hallways or there manning that thing 24/7 for veterans like yourself that come in. And while you can call if you want to get an appointment, I think it's 862-6000. That's 615-867-6000. You can walk in, and you just find one of those guys with a red shirt and let them know what you want, and they're going to lead you from there, and you'll be in good hands. But
you're welcome with open arms. Gary, I think Gary has volunteered out there over 20 years. Another classmate, General Jim Whitmore, his mom did the same thing. Her husband, Major Whitmore, just a military family, but volunteered out there until her passing. So we've had a community that's just there to try to help our vets with getting back into I guess they call I think there was a term when you got back in country or something. Is in country where the fighting was, or going back stateside? Was there a term going back stateside that you recall? Or just, hey, I'm going home?
Everybody just talked about a freedom bird.
Oh, okay.
When they got ready to go home, I don't know anything.
A freedom bird, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, Kevin, with this, obviously you're saying y'all have done thousands of these guys, and what is y'all's number, or how's the way to reach you if they want to go the route of reaching you guys? I've shared the phone number of the VA hospital, and you can Google that, but how can they find you guys?
Yeah, so you can go on the web. Our website is Amada Nashville, and that's A as in Apple, M as in Mary, ADA, Nashville.com. We have a very good profile on our website about our veteran benefits. And call us directly, 615-933-7494. And you can just say, hey, I heard Kevin talking on WGNS, and I have some questions. And my office will try to get you to me if I am in a meeting or held up with a family or whatnot. Everybody in our office, shout out to all of our amazing staff there. They are well versed in talking about veteran benefits.
That's awesome. Wayne, you and I kind of knew each other years ago. We used to ride horses together out on Rock Springs Road, and you lived out that way, and we had a good friend in common, Johnny Carter, and I rode many years with Johnny. And have you seen him lately? Is he still holding up out there?
I saw him maybe about a year or so ago. Of course, I'm a free and accepted Mason, and so is John. And I saw him over at the lodge about a year ago.
Good for that.
But actually, John's what got me into masonry. We rode horses, but we always had spotted saddle horses and walking horses.
That's right.
So when I got rid of my place, I saw John down there one day with some Palomino horses, and I asked him, "What are you doing with these quarter horses, John?"
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I'm riding I think it's something to do with the Shriners."
It was.
And so he asked me, he said, "Well, you go riding with me, Wayne?" I said, "Well, I got rid of my horses." So he was going to let me use one of his. I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, you got to be a Shriner first." And I said, "Well, okay, where you join?" He said, "Well, you got to be a Mason first." And I said, "Well, okay, where you join?" So I went and petitioned the lodge, and that's probably one of the best things that ever happened to me.
What year was that? You remember?
It was in 2002.
2002, Is that right? Yeah, I took care of their horses for a little while. They all had them Palomino horses, which the Shriners Circus was a big deal back then. It's kind of gone away now, but they didn't want hair growing on those horses in winter, so we kept them in a heated barn with blankets on them so they could ride in the parades and the Christmas parades and things that the Shriners were so known for there for many years. But
well, I think that's what we got to be thankful for, especially coming up on the 4th of July, and so thankful that we live in a country so that we can all just, there's so many great people in this world.
Oh, yeah.
John performed a service, and by riding in the Shriners and supporting the Shriners Hospital, Kevin does a service. I think anybody that provides a service to mankind and advances humanity is doing God's work, and that's what we should do. So I appreciate you, Rick. You was a police officer at one time. Anybody that wears a uniform in the service of others is God's work in my eyes. So anyhow, thank you.
So he had Palominos, and you called them quarter horses? Was
they
that
are.
an insult?
They are.
They are quarter horses?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, he got Palomino quarter horses after I got, because we used to raise walking horses and spotted saddle horses.
Okay.
Then he got those because that was a requirement to be in the Shriners, to have a Palomino.
Okay. Well, I'm just showing my lack of knowledge with horses, and Rick.
Well, they have a bumpy ride.
Well, they had all the same colors. They're all Palomino, which is a quarter horse. I mean, you can find a walking horse that's Palomino, but it's very rare in that point of being that. And Brian and I could have a class with you one day on what they all do and everything.
Okay.
But I too rode spotted horses with Wayne at the time. But hey, we're coming against our next break, and we're going to take our break real quick and be right back with you.
At Turner Security, we bring cutting-edge protection with live video monitoring, access control entry, advanced camera systems, and intermedia IP phones, all designed to keep your business safe and connected. From small businesses to large enterprises, our expert team ensures seamless integration and around-the-clock monitoring, because security isn't just a service, it's our mission. Turner Security, powered by TechCore.
Radio.com.
And good morning, and welcome back to the third and final segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And certainly been our honor and pleasure to have Wayne Bain, county member and Rutherford County member and veteran, and Kevin Farrer, owner of Armada Senior Care, who has shared quite a bit of info that I don't know that Rick and I were aware of regarding veteran benefit. Maybe Wayne, you didn't even know some of it.
I didn't. No.
So, but Kevin, do you want to share some more information?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just wrap up by underscoring the fact that every veteran that needs an improvement in quality of life, if you're sitting at your house right now and you can benefit from these services, you've earned it. You are entitled to it.
Amen.
And I want you to call us, and we will navigate that path for you to help you.
I'm impressed. Of course, we're in Rotary with you, Kevin, and I had no idea that you were so well versed and so well rounded to take care of all members of our county community, and your knowledge about veteran benefits. I'm in awe, and thank you for sharing that this morning. I think I'd like to think that you're going to make a difference in some lives.
It's our honor, and Kelly and I, when we started Amada, we just had a vision of helping as many people as we can. Ironically, I talk to every veterans group that I can. An overwhelming majority of our business is civilian. Okay, I'd say 75%. Probably 3 to 1, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure my office will text me and tell me, but it's about 3 to 1 civilian to veteran,
sure,
or maybe 20% veteran. But the point is, I want folks like Wayne and everybody in our community to know that these resources are out there, and I hope you don't need them, but if you do, you've earned it, and I want to help be the one to guide you to get you that care, that help.
Also grateful to know, based on Wayne's testimony, that Alvin C. York is doing such a great job of taking care of our veterans as well. And Wayne, you've had experience with them. Agent Orange, I understand, is a pretty nasty thing to deal with. Otherwise, you're like me, you've gained some age over the years. Otherwise, pretty good shape health-wise?
Yeah, fairly. I've had open heart surgery as a result, and
so
quadruple bypass, and a few other little issues. But
I'm assuming you're pretty blessed to be here then.
I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to have the doctors I have. Dr. Willoughby, shout out to him. He was just new, and I was so afraid I was going to get a bad doctor, but he just like Karen, really good man.
Excellent.
Good. Yeah. Speaking of 4th of July, I think I'm going to give out our fireworks schedule. I think everybody's looking forward to that. But Smyrna's will be Thursday night. They open gates open at 5, and they'll have live music and food trucks and playgrounds ready and everything. Laverne and Murfreesboro both shoot theirs off on the 4th. Veterans Park in Laverne will have theirs at gates open at 5:30. Same thing. They'll have live entertainment and food trucks. And the Fountains of Murfreesboro is the location of Murfreesboro's fireworks thing. So get anywhere around the avenue or that way, you're going to be able to see the fireworks here in Murfreesboro.
Well, in Smyrna, just amazing that you can see them just all over the town.
Yeah.
I mean, just grab your chair and go out on the porch and just look towards the park, and you're going to be able to see the fireworks, and very impressive.
I love where I live, and I've been there 10 years, but I've missed my old house on top. I was in the back of Thompson Woods and Andy Johns Drive. You go straight up to where they shot them, and we'd get lawn chairs in the middle of the road, and we'd have to, of course, scurry off the road if somebody came, but we could sit in the middle of the road and just watch them go.
We've several times, of course, we lived in a cul-de-sac there in St. John's Woods. If you want a really good view, just go down to where Talafaro.
That's right, top of the hill.
At the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And growing up in the town, we always called it Talafaro's, but having been in Eagleville, going to Eagleville a lot when I was on the school board, I found out the name was actually Talaford.
Tolliver.
Yeah, Talford. Yeah. And I was going, well, that ain't right.
Well, we had to have that little slang to it, Taliaferro.
Yeah. But right there at Hilltop is just a great place to watch the fireworks if you don't want to have to fight the crowd.
Yeah. Well, I'm too old to shoot them off now. The mess,
dangerous
guys. The mess now.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know,
The
something
danger.
I haven't tried because we usually go out on the during the daytime. But as far as seeing the fireworks from Percy Priest, have you ever tried that?
I actually took my boat years ago and went up the Cumberland River through the locks in the downtown Nashville, and when 107.5 back of the river used to have it down on Riverfront Park.
Yes, sir.
But I would never do it again. They closed the locks on us. We were stuck, and I guess there were so many boats that they decided to have mercy on us and put us in there, and it was terrible.
Oh,
absolutely
wow.
terrible. But
Okay.
I would never do that again.
Yeah, that's an experience I'd like to miss.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yes, I did.
He
Yep.
did. Brother Wayne, God bless you for your service. Enjoyed being with you this morning, Kevin. God bless for your service in taking care of our vets and sharing the information. Wish you both and our audience a very happy 4th, and God bless you both.
Appreciate what you do, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Yep. Have a great week. We'll see you next week as usual.
Next up to the plate